American forces are on the ground in Iraq now, according to the Pentagon. They're the first of as many as 300 so-called military advisors, a phrase you might remember from Vietnam. At any rate, the ones President Obama said he would send to help Iraqi forces. Our Secretary of State John Kerry is also in Iraq. He is today, and he called for leaders of Kurdistan, that region in the north, to support a new Iraqi government to help push back Islamist militants and their supporters. Kurdish leaders, however, hinted that Kurdistan probably doesn't want to do that. Remember, Kurdistan is really an autonomous region that stretches across a few countries in the Middle East, shown here in the green area shaded on the map. You see up there in Tal Afar and Mosul and Kirkuk, part of it up in Turkey, part of it here in Syria, and actually, no, in part of it in the north of Iraq. And the north of Iraq, that's the one place that's really stable. The Kurdish troops there, they call them the Peshmerga, are really the only ones fighting back against these militants who've joined in with them. And those Kurdish forces have been very effective. Last week, they took control of the oil-rich city of Kirkuk. And now there are no signs that they're willing to give it back at all. State Department Deputy Spokeswoman Marie Harf joins us now. Nice of you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Shep. Happy to be here.
What's the situation now?
Well, as you said, Secretary Kerry's on the ground now, talking to all of the leaders in Iraq about forming a government that's inclusive, that includes the Kurds, the Sunnis, and the Shia, to move Iraq to a better place. Because you're absolutely right, those special operators are on the ground today. They know how to fight terrorists like ISIL better than anyone. But that won't matter unless Iraq's leaders, including the Kurds, step up to the plate.
Did you just say special operators are on the ground to attack ISIL? Because that's the biggest fear. That's exactly what the fear is, that these special operators, these advisors, are going to turn out to be advisors just like they were in Vietnam, and that all of a sudden this thing's going to escalate. Well, I mean, you can smile about it all you want, but that is the fear. You're the one who said that they're ready to fight ISIL. I hope that's not the case.
I said they know how to fight terrorists like ISIL better than anyone, and that's what they'll be advising and assisting the Iraqis do themselves, just to make that perfectly clear. They're on the ground to help the Iraqis as they step up in this fight as advisors in that role.
Hey, have they made any progress toward actually getting the leadership over there to be inclusive? Because I've seen no signs of it. We've seen no indication that Nouri al-Maliki has budged in any way.
Well, we're about to have a new government, Shep, formed as soon as possible, and we'll see very soon whether Iraq's leaders understand how serious the situation is and want to take their country to a better place. Because, again, nothing we do will solve Iraq's problems for it. We really need the Iraqis to step up, Prime Minister Maliki or whoever the next leader of Iraq is, to do just that.
Hey, up in Kurdistan, I know that there were talks and they've gotten some degree of cooperation up there, but is there any indication that the Kurdish president is actually going to support the central government?
Absolutely. So Secretary Kerry talked to a number of Kurdish leaders who said they would support a government formation for a federal, unified Iraq. They understand the severity of the problem. The Iraqi army's also been working very closely with the Peshmerga, as you mentioned, to help fight this threat together. So we know there will be a new government that will include all of Iraq's different sects.
What level of concern is there that by the time we get all this stuff together, or that they get their stuff together with whatever help we can give, that Baghdad will be in jeopardy there? We spoke with a reporter from the Wall Street Journal earlier in this newscast who said attacks are already happening in Baghdad, that people have already been murdered by these terrorists.
Well, we know the security situation is very fluid, and what we're trying to do with these advisors is help the Iraqi army get back on its feet and really push back. We've provided them with additional intelligence, with additional surveillance and reconnaissance, so they can find where these terrorists are operating. But we know the threat from ISIL is real. We are confident, though, that if we work with the Iraqi army and if their leaders step up, that we can push back against this threat. Yeah,
the sad part is the Iraqi army has melted away, and their leaders have never stepped up, not once from the very beginning. I don't know what kind of pressure can be applied now. I mean, what they face is either losing all of their power and probably eventually their lives, or staying in there and falling to defeat. Which do you choose?
Well, there are parts of the Iraqi army that are still very capable units. Parts of the Iraqi army did surprise people by melting away, but there are still some elite units here that we're working with. We do think we can go after this terrorist threat from ISIL very aggressively. As you said, the Peshmerga is doing so as well. So that's what we're focused on doing with these advisors, with the munitions we're sending them. And as we've all said, Secretary Kerry said, we have a number of options available to us, including military options, if we think it makes sense to use those.
Well, I certainly hope it all works out. Marie Harf with us from the State Department. Frustrating for all of us and technical difficulties. Apologize for tone. It's nice to see you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right.